matchup for the day. A 1-1 series. I mean, I had to comment before the halftime show that C9 was looking good, but Evil Genius is being able to dish out a little of their own medicine in return. Joshi, love to see it.
Yeah, this is definitely the version of Evil Geniuses that we know they can be, right? We saw that
Yeah.
Kaori and Smoothie in particular stepped up in that second game. They took
Yeah.
control of a lane that we know that they could. We saw versions of what could be, one of our top 3 AD carriers, one of our top 3 supports. When paired together, they had a lot of experience between them over Wixie and Trevor, and we got to see that in game 2.
Yeah, and 1-1 magical. I know you were giving them kudos for
Oh
the
yeah.
break. Any final thoughts with how this ended up for the week before we head on into our next match?
So I think this is not like where my criticisms have been for Cloud9, where it's like, oh, they haven't played up to their capacity. This was just a really well played game by Evil Geniuses. Very few mistakes were made. The only time they really made those mistakes were when they were so far ahead, it didn't damn matter. They just were throwing everything at Cloud9 because like, we don't care. There's nothing for us to lose because you're so far behind that we can play like monkeys and still win. But that's again, but like I said, that's later in the game. Earlier in the game, Evil Geniuses just played so well, and that was the level of Evil Geniuses that we're always expecting out of them.
Yeah, certainly. Well, with the tied series on our hand, it's time to look at our next matchup of the day to see if we're going to have a 2-0 or a 1-1 amongst this, because it is going to be Immortals up against Team Liquid, both 4-2 respectively. For myself, for my hot take last week, I said Team Liquid is going to go undefeated. Might have cast or cursed that a little bit. Deserex was already giving me trouble about it, so...
I'm glad you cast it. Just to teach Eric a lesson.
Wow.
No, I thought that they're gonna defeat it as my hot take. The second they started losing, I get a Discord DM like, haha, sucks to suck, but
I mean, is it wrong?
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. All right.
Hey,
look,
I've been
aside.
set up as the villain for today. I am living up to that damn title.
Okay. Let's put Team League aside. Let's talk about Immortals first. Let's pull up the roster, what we can expect going into today. You're trying to be a villain. I'm gonna let you talk about the team now, so you can say some nice things.
Oh, okay. I'll say positive feedback. Honestly, this Immortals team I'm really excited about. One, because I think that Chad and Pretty are fantastic players. Like, they did a great job and why they were able to make such a deep run into Proving Grounds last split. But I actually am more interested in Vital. I got to talk to Invert about Vital and why they chose them. And they're like, we just ran tryouts and we ran scrims with him, and he was the best performing member by a long stretch. And so that makes me so excited to see that they have someone that as a new rookie in the top lane that they feel that confident around, especially when you have such a talented mid laner like Pretty.
Yeah, and we've definitely been seeing Pretty have so much success so far in the first week, right? We even know that due to some visa issues coming in from Power of Evil, Pretty's going to have an opportunity to play for Immortals LCS later on this week, and we have high expectations for him. We have theories that he might better pair with the rest of the Immortals roster than PoE does. Not necessarily that he's a better player, but he's just a better compositional
Pretty's
fit.
a better player in my heart.
Perhaps. But we got to see if he's still up to snuff here as he goes up against what we expect to be the #1 Academy team.
Yeah, well, let's focus in a little bit more about Pretty. Pretty was actually my player to watch heading into it, and I didn't cast or curse that one magical, because what we've seen has been, honestly, really clutch.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at how Pretty positions as well, I think that's one of the big things is he's willing to follow Chad into these crazy plays, have shockwaves like that where he's so far forward as Orianna, but he knows, and he has confidence in his jungler, but it's also just shows his confidence in the champions he's been playing. We've been much more into the control mage style as of late, and that's Pretty's wheelhouse. That's where he's always thrived.
Yeah, and he's always had a huge champion pool as well. I believe he had the most uniques played in spring, or he was very close to it if he wasn't #1. And we're expecting that to continue into summer. He's had so many opportunities to showcase everything that he's able to play, from the control mages to the enchanters to potentially even a couple assassins coming through if they ever come back. Pretty has a little bit of everything, and he's so willing to play for the rest of his team that it really makes people like Chad and Arrow look even better.
Yeah, well, now, looking at the roster that we have for Team Liquid and Joshi, I'm going to talk to you about this one for reasons that I will not state here. But despite the fact that they did take a 0-2 loss last week, there is a lot of high points of this team.
Yeah, honestly, everybody on this team is something that you really have to pay attention to. And I kind of have some bigger thoughts about like their 0-2 up against CLG, and it's not so much why did CLG beat Team Liquid, but why did CLG not look that good against some of their other opponents? This is a team that we knew was going to be really strong, and Team Liquid really kind of running into their first stumbling block there was not really a surprise on paper. We got to see, everybody on this team saying this is a season where we're here to fight, 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 and with all the aggression that Jan had earlier in the week that went really well, we got to see the other side of it. Sometimes the aggression doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, where I look at for Team Liquid in this roster is this bot lane, and that's going to be our feature matchup for today. It's not just in a yeah, exactly. And we're not just going to look at Ayla, but we're going to look at the bot duo as a whole going up against Arrow and Joey. We have some clips as well to round that out. But Yon and Ayla, I mean, this is a duo that has been really good, Joshi. How is that going to be pairing up against Arrow and Joey?
I mean, it's definitely a situation where we know Jan and Ayla are incredibly talented, but Arrow and Joey, they feel like they kind of came into their own a little bit last week, right? Just watching them move together on the map and allowing Arrow to just kind of take over the games was a big part of where Immortals were finding some of their success. And now, going up against Jan and Ayla, we kind of were using Darshana as our measuring stick for the top lane. Jan and Ayla are absolutely the measuring stick in the bottom lane. If you can lane at least as well as these guys, you're a pretty damn good laning team in this Academy split. And I feel like Arrow and Joey, well, one of the big things that they can often lack in is, late game positioning. They are some darn good laners.
Hey, and do not give disrespect over to Arrow and Joey. Remember, Immortals' last split started off 4-0. That was the results after 1 week of play, and a lot of that was off the back of Arrow and Joey and how they played, but that's very similar to Jan and Ayla. I think Jan and Ayla are just a younger version of what we've been seeing out of Arrow and Joey. Confident, aggressive, willing to fight it out at level 1. The lane phase is volatile from both sides of the equation, and that's why I'm so excited to see how this is going to play, because I'm expecting both sides level 3, they're going to all in fight with or without junglers.
So you say they're younger, but I'm also pretty sure Jan and Ayla are younger than
That's
Arrow
what
and
I was
Joey,
saying.
right?
I was saying that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Jan and Ayla, they definitely feel like they are pushing for LCS. We know Ayla's going to have big opportunities. He's one of our biggest stars. We keep talking about it. I keep fanboying over him. And Jan, not far behind with his ability to play this time so much more aggressive than he has splits past.
Ooh, all right, well, Champ Select around the corner, and before we head into this, both of these teams having a 4-2 and some great players among them. How do we think the series is going to be ending up? Joshi, what's your take on this?
Look, I'm not going to be betting against Team Liquid. One, they're my favorite team currently going into the split. Two, they're looking incredibly sick, and I love the way that they've been playing. I'm expecting a 2-0, but I think it's going to be a fighting 2-0.
Okay. Magical,
I agree on a 2-0, just not the
other
teams.
way?
Yeah, just not the teams.
Oh, okay.
I look at how Immortals have played. As long as they don't play like they did in that last game against Cloud9 last week, this is a team that is fully capable. They'll play the crazy stuff. They'll play whatever. I mean, well, the Cog Lulu I don't think was the best look for Arrow and Joey. I still think that if you put them on things that are aggressive and look for that lane phase advantage, the top side of the map is going to be doing the same. So you're hitting Team Liquid at every stage of the game. But I will also be realistic. I do really like Team Liquid too. I like all the players. So I'm mostly just saying this to like counter Joshi here. But
wow, okay.
But
okay, contrarian.
But I do think that this will be a good series. If I gave a realistic one, I'd say it's 1-1.
1-1. All right. I think for myself, I might have to say 1-1 as well, because I know my hot take was Team Liquid wasn't going to drop a game. But the thing is, too, looking at Immortals and this roster, I have been excited about Pretty and how he's been playing. I'm excited about the fact that he gets to go play LCS and try that out. I'm excited for these opportunities, and I also, as much as I'm excited for Team Liquid. I don't want to root against Immortals, and I'm hoping that, if we have a 1-1, it's like everybody wins. Everybody gets a
Exactly.
little slice of the pie, right, Magical?
Yeah,
Let's
I mean,
discuss that.
Academy. The thing is, it's hard to choose like, oh, this team over this team because it's
Yeah.
all about developmental process, anyways. It's all about all these
Yeah.
players growing, getting better, and hopefully shipping them up to the LCS and be like proud of you, like are with Danny and how he's played. Same with Jojopian before him. Now Dokla getting his chance back at the LCS. I want to always pat him on the back, and be like, go get him, Tiger.
Yeah, but I think, you look at Team Liquid Academy, if you just drop this team as is into LCS, they wouldn't be the worst team there, right? It's already a situation where they are looking quite strong, and I feel like, one of the big things that Immortals has consistently had that has made them look really good is Chad's ability to play level 1. But, against a lot of teams who haven't necessarily put as much time into their early games, it's worked out quite well. But Team Liquid is not a team that is ignoring their first level 1s. They are playing, and I don't think Chad's likely to get away with the same advantages.
Well, it's level 1 to 3. That's usually when Chad tries to have that early
that's
play.
fair.
Tends to be
It
bot
starts on the
lane.
first buff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it'll start at the first buff, and it'll end once someone hits level 4, and then he's like, I give up. I'm just gonna power farm.
Okay. I mean, I like that, like, circling back a little bit, I like that what you brought up about the fact that we're kind of just rooting for the players. Like, yes, it's fun to see what team comes out on top, but don't want to root against anyone in particular because you're looking at these players, you're seeing the journeys that they have following through, and I don't know, I'm just a fan of the players overall as opposed to necessarily the team. So, a 1-1, the perfect world, I'm going to stick with that. I think it's the perfect solution to have these teams end off 5-2 at the end of the day. It's time for Champ Select, though. A first little taste of what could be an absolute banger matchup. I'll see you two later.
And that's what I'm expecting,
Sierra.
Sierra. I'm expecting this to be a banger of a match because we also have, on the other stream, I think it's TSM Academy versus 100 Thieves Academy, which is also a fantastic matchup to pit against one another. Since both teams here are 4-2, and looking at how they want to play, it's very similar. Like I said, aggressive bot lane. You have mid lanes that are consistent, Harry and Pretty playing more of the control mage style. Even though I know Harry likes his LeBlanc, we're just not going to see it. And that Rengar ban, you only see it against Chad, but you gotta ban it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just weird, right? Like, as somebody who does a lot of my own drafting for teams that I play on, and they're admittedly much worse, one of the first things we look at is, do they play anything weird that's going to throw off the way that we like to play? And that's a good answer to it, right? Rengar, with the tank Rengar build that he likes to go for, is weird. Like, you don't practice against this against anybody else. You don't necessarily want to play against it on stage. So, Team Liquid go in. Remember, Jake Spawn Tiberius said on Twitter his goal is to get 2-0s in less than an hour of game time. We'll see if that's something they can live up to again.
That'd be hard
That's
against
his goal.
Immortals, because I feel like Immortals are the... Well, actually, it's hard, because Immortals are a coin flip team, so they're either going to get a huge advantage early into the game, or maybe it's going to be Team Liquid that get it. But here, with these bans, we have a couple jungle bans with the Lilia and the Rengar, but this leaves open some powerful picks, such as Senna, such as Talia, that we've been seeing, even with some of the nerfs that she's received, still strong in the meta.
Yeah, and we know that this is something that Arrow hasn't actually played so far yet this spring or this summer. It's only been going over to Joey because Arrow played Jhin alongside it, so there's still options available. But Team Liquid, now as they kind of look at what they're doing, they've had a lot of strong bottom lanes, right? They've been the one team that has played different champions, but this time the Zeri is back. Jan, the boy, the first Zeri player really ever. He was the one who got that crazy clip on Twitter all those months ago, and now he's going to be having the come out right alongside him. I'm excited for this one.
So am I. I mean, Zeri, we saw doubled banned last time around. We didn't get to see it at all in our first series. Don't know how the Academy stream is doing with that either. But Zeri did get a sizable buff where she now...
She's playable.
She's playable. Like, she got a lot of her numbers reduced way back in the day to kind of make it so that she was more containable and more realistic to play against. But it really did hurt her. So now she's received some number buffs that have brought her back in and going up against a pretty stable bot lane. And this time, Arrow playing Senna. It's going to be hard to see that early advantages that you'd want to see out of Jan and Ayla.
No, but this is still a very strong lane, right? It's not the Ezreal, but it is the Zeri. You do have a lot of range where you can kind of poke things all around. And every single time you hit one of those shields that Senna and Tom Kench are known for creating. You get that little bit of extra shield for
Ooh.
yourself, you get the bonus movement speed, and Fiora coming through for Vital. We were very excited to see whether or not he would be bringing out. He didn't get to do it last week at all, but now we get to see. It's in his name. He's going to be poking the Vitals.
It's the namesake, right? It's what he named himself after. It's the Vital proc that you can get on Fiora. Has a lot of practice on said champion. And Bradley now has a pick of the letter of what he wants to play into it, and it's Gangplank that he opts for.
And his Gangplank was undefeated during Proving Grounds. Finally, we're going to see an opportunity for him to bring it right on back, but this is definitely a skill matchup that he's opting into up against Vital. And we'll see if he has the same kind of confidence like Tenacity did. Just give me the skill matchup and I'm going to win it anyway. This guy's a rookie. I'm going to put him in the dumpster. This is the one place where I feel like Immortals have a better than average opportunity to actually play, right? Vital over Bradley is one of the places where I feel like Immortals can potentially try and find some kind of advantage.
But the same could be said for Bradley getting advantages from Armeo visiting top lane. This kind of shifts our perspective of where we'd expect the junglers to focus. Because normally when we look at Chad, he likes to play around the bottom side of the map, likes to really try to see if he can get Arrow and Joey into a comfortable position because he knows they're going to play aggressively. But with them playing Senna Tom Kench, it's a fairly safe lane. It's something that doesn't need attention. Instead, they got to make sure that the volatile top matchup, the Fiora versus Gangplank matchup, is going in their favor.
Yeah. I'm a little bit surprised that Team Liquid is also banning away the Wukong, right? They have the next pick coming through, and Armeo played 4 games on this champion in the last week, right? The only other things he's played were Talia and the Viego, and the Talia is still available, but it would give them a ton of zone control if he chooses to go that style once again. The only, like I just said, he played Talia and Viego. The only champion left that he's played so far is the Talia, and it would be giving him a lot of magic damage that would have so much range to play with.
Right, it's got to be banned here. Like, the Hecarim ban, sure, it's something that Armeo historically has played a lot of, but I'm expecting Talia, just even with the nerfs that she received on 12-11, weren't enough, but instead, they leave it open, taking away Armeo's Trundle.
I feel like the Talia is just a perfect pick here right now, right?
Yeah.
Not only can you have Harry play it, you can also have Armeo play, or the other way around, right? The important thing is that Harry can also play it. It's flexible in the way that you actually want to go for. But there's also the Victor that we've been seeing Harry play 3 times so far. He's played the Azir, he's played the Ahri as well. All of these things create a ton of space, and Team Liquid not going with the Talia, they're going with the Thunder Bear coming through, so now they finally have a way to kind of get fight started because Karma makes this bear so fast.
And I mean, I expect it to be Armeo playing Volibear, another historic champion that he's been fairly effective on throughout the seasons. But there is always that chance, Joshi, that is Harry playing Gangplank and Bradley playing the bear.
The chance is not 0, but it's not a lot higher. We'll see if it ends up coming through. Instead, it is going to be Chad locking in the Kindred. He's only played Wukong and the Rengar thus far, so now it's his 3rd unique champion of the split. He's looking for opportunities to follow in the footsteps of Shiden, who, had some results on the champion most recently, but with the Azir coming through, I'm expecting like a Victor as the most likely answer here from Harry, just challenging the range and looking for opportunities to kind of blow people up later on.
But we were talking about Talia and the space making potential that you have on that champion. It's kind of similar when you have a Azir with Kindred, especially because a lot of people like to play around the Lamb's Respite. So, okay.
Yone, we just saw this earlier, right? It was a pretty decent matchup for the Yone earlier, and I feel like it's something that is not what is typically in Harry's wheelhouse. I don't know if I've ever seen him play this champion in the past, but it's another 1-3-1 kind of composition. You have Zeri, Karma plus Volibear, who are very difficult to engage upon. You're once again looking at Pretty taking the spot of Saligo, where he's the primary person by which Immortals can get these big team fights started, but they're getting zoned out by the Gangplank. They're getting zoned out by the Zeri and the Karma. I feel like we're seeing so many similarities between this game as we saw between Evil Geniuses and Cloud9.
Right, because the mid lane matchup is the same as well. The Yone versus Azir. Copy opted for that. While the first few levels are a struggle, until you really hit level 6, you're struggling to face off against the Azir, but afterwards, you can always 1v1 him, and that for Harry's sake here, he's got to make sure he survives because Pretty is an aggressive player, especially on these control mages.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if he looks for an early level 3 kill.
Yeah, and so I think it's not just going to be on the mid lane, but we're also going to look at the jungle, right? Chad has cheesed every single level 1 against everybody else so far. If he can get that off in this game against Team Liquid, they're perfectly poised for success.
I think so as well, but Team Liquid could always battle it back. They got good scaling on their side. They've got good split push opportunities for them to try to see if they can beat Immortals Academy in this first game of our best of 2 series between the two of them. And with Immortals being on the blue side, Team Liquid being on the red side, I'm curious to see how that Yone will function, if it's going to function similarly to how Copy did before.
Jumping directly into the Rift here, Magical, we are noticing that Vital choosing to go with the Sweeper to start the game rather than a Ward. Now, this is typically done to try and spot out any wards, clear any vision that Bradley tries to put down so that he's playing without vision as we actually go into the rest of the game in the early couple of lanes. Because if you can prevent Bradley from knowing when Chad is ganking, it's a huge opportunity for Vital and Chad to take over the top lane, prevent Bradley from playing.
And there, yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see my level 1 shenanigans actually work out, but more so than just having a little bit of vision identity onto identifying where Bradley is positioning and who he might be helping out, since it looks like right now he might give a bit of assistance to Armeo on the red buff. But at the moment, nothing. Joshi, when am I gonna ever see level 1 fights? When?
Well, typically, if it was going to be anybody, it was probably going to be Immortals looking for
I
these
know!
level 1s, right? But
I know!
even Chad, not going to go for it this time. Instead, going to be going for his own thing. Now, because of this, I almost expect that he's going to try and force a vertical jungle, right? With Arrow and Joey, he might try and go for the opposing blue buff, but even already his pathing doesn't seem to be going for them because Arrow and Joey are going to be pushed back in. They're not going to be looking for the same kind of early game rotation as Chad has been known for thus far.
At least, not
okay,
yet.
Something has to have changed about the Kindred pathing, because Chad's also doing it. Every Kindred player I know as of like 2 patches ago was like, yeah, you cannot do this camp until you're level 3. So I'm going to have to look at this again.
Durability. Changing all the routes, changing all the paths. And for the sake of Chad, looking at how he's jungling at the moment, getting the 2 camp spot lane, going straight for blue. This, to me, screams he is going to look for that level 3 gank onto Bradley.
Oh yeah, getting that very fast level 3 with Red Raptors Gromp, looking for a potential opportunity to come top lane. Vital taking, you know, a fair amount of damage, but Chad, he definitely wants to come top. He wants to go for these early ganks, and he's on his way.
With how low Bradley and Vital both are as well, they have been smashing their faces into one another. And Chad, there is no vision to spot him out. He has got the easiest flank of his life so long as Bradley stays a little bit too long. But he's playing cautiously. I actually respect this from Bradley, saying, you know what? Yeah, I don't have vision control. I don't know where you are. I'm going to make sure that I'm hovering in a position I can flash back to my turret.
And Vital has created a very good position for his wave, right? He can freeze this a little bit.
Oh, or he might just be able to solo kill Bradley while Chad watches. He sees that his top laner is getting all the advantages. With a recall from Bradley, he will survive. We got to turn our attention to mid lane as Pretty now. He's got to flash over the wall once he sees the bear charging.
Remember what we were looking at earlier when they did that to Saligo, when we saw Copy walk too close so that Saligo couldn't get away with the E. Harry doing the exact same thing, staying ahead of Pretty.
I like that Scryer's Bloom from Armeo, perfectly predicting where Chad is, so he can't just immediately jump onto the Scuttle Crab and get that first stack of the game. Instead, he has to play cautiously, wait for his mid and top laner to join in, since Bradley is sure as hell going to make sure they can contest as the flash coming in from Armeo to be able to get the flash out of Chad. And that will be the Scuttle Crab going over to Armeo.
Okay, good stuff from Team Liquid, right? We're not seeing Chad come off to the really big advantages that he's had against so many other junglers so far early this summer. But Bradley, need to be careful.
He's got to be really careful. Vital, he wants that solo kill over Bradley. He's saying that this skill matchup ain't a skill matchup. This is all me.
Yeah, Bradley looks shook. That's the second barrel combo I've seen him drop, but Arrow's alone.
Arrow's alone, getting a little bit of poke. but underneath this turret, an Armeo without flash would make the dive a bit difficult and risky.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to go for it just quite yet, but again, a very large lead coming through for Yon and Ayla already, about 15 CS up, and Arrow being forced to farm because Joey is not able to get it. This is currently a pretty big win for the side of Yon and Ayla if they can continue building it up.
Vital Broadly continue to trade back and forth, grasp for grasp, healing up whenever they trade. Makes it so that they have to call the attention of a jungler, but this time it is Armeo's attention that is received, and with Vital playing way too far out, that's a fat minion wave that is now frozen. He is going to be punished massively as he has flashed a bit early, and he's still stunned up and killed by the first parlay.
Vital, no riposte available, doesn't use it, gets stunned up by Armeo. I thought for sure he walks away, but he has to have used the riposte. Bradley was calling it, saying, hey, there's no opportunity for Fiora to do anything. Come up top lane, we'll deny him an entire wave. This is Bradley turning around this matchup right at the beginning.
Great punish from the side of Team Liquid to make sure that Vital, who's been playing aggressively this entire time, looking for the chunk of trade damage on to Bradley, gets punished for overextending. This now turns that skill matchup back towards Gangplank, where he was struggling into the flame. Now he's got a Sheen completed.
Yeah, and he's got the wave bouncing back towards him.
Yeah.
Because Vital gets there first, he will have the last hit. So this is a good position here for Bradley thus far. And again, 100% win on this champion when he was actually in Proving Grounds. He looked so strong on it before, and now he's trying to ward out, making sure he's not gankable by Chad.
I still miss the Prowler's call-out build that Bradley went for. That was always a fun one, but now Bradley, even with the control ward, he's playing so cautiously, and I respect the hell out of him for it. He already knows that's a fat minion wave. He's got barrel chains that can farm it up if he needs to, but there's no reason risking that Chad might be in the vicinity.
Yeah. I am going to have to call it out to see if it's going to be an issue later on. Bradley is dropping a lot of barrel chains early on this game. Like, it's a situation where it's not a problem yet. It hasn't meant anything so far, but they find Joey.
Oh, Joey! Thick skin. It's enough to at least delay the inevitable, but what a play out of Yon and Ayla.
Good job waiting for Arrow and Joey to desync their backs and taking down the Tom Kench.
Barely were they able to
desync
desync that. That's the thing that blows my mind. They had their backs desynced by probably half a second, maybe a second. So Arrow, he recalls just in time for that zap out of Yon to cancel the back out of Joey.
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, Yon and Ayla, they are so good at pressuring in these really small margins, and they take down the first kill right there in the bottom lane. And it was already starting to become a very large lead for Yon on what I like to think of as one of his most signature champions.
Yeah, that's
but
a
you'll
second.
see it again.
It's a second. That's it.
Yeah, there's hardly any time. Such a great window coming through. Yon waiting till the last moment. Oh,
that is beautiful.
These guys are so good.
Honestly, absolutely fantastic from them. And that's why I think Joey didn't even think that there was going to be attempted play, because that had to be pixel perfect. They had to time that insanely well, and they did so. They were probably just manually counting it out, counting the seconds down before the recall was finished by the side of Joey.
Yeah, and so Chad is now in this awkward position where he's like, well, I have to bail out my bottom lane. My mid lane is slightly behind Harry. Again, 10 CS up as always.
Yeah,
and
once you hit the level 6 mark as Yon too.
Yeah. Oh man, how do you deal with this right now? They look for Ayla.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is just where things are getting a little dicey. A nice flash by Ayla after Joey, so he'll survive, but kind of going back to your point. Sorry, I interrupted you a bit. But it's like, we talked about the matchup of Yone versus Azir once he hit level 6, and how that essentially shifts, where Azir has control in the lane phase initially, but after a couple levels, it's going to be Harry who gets control.
Yeah, and he's always so good at building up these landing advantages, even when he's in not great matchups. But Yon,
Jan, zoom. Low health targets on the side of Immortals, just whittling them down. But here's a cannon barrage to split up the fight. And look at Harry. Lamb's Respite came out trying to stop the fight, but that's more damage on Harry. Nice use of the ult as well. Even with the thick skin on the other side to make sure that you're getting out alive. Chad barely holding on. Same with Joey. They're getting threatened underneath the turrets. The flash away. Yon overextending, but he still takes Chad with him.
Yo, that is a summer Yon special. Spring, Yon would not have gone for that.
No, but that's also lining up a play where Pretty will die. This is immaculate gameplay from the side of Team Liquid.
Absolute tragedy there too. Pretty gets the bug where he dies as the ult is casting and there's no knockback from it, but Yon, the confidence of this guy, his willingness to just go for plays and say, yeah, I don't know if it's going to work, but I trust myself to actually go for it, denying the 2 souls. But this is the play that we like seeing from Team Liquid. They are so patient in these fights. Harry waiting till the last possible moment to use his ultimate, making sure that he can get it after the Lamb's Respite has actually finished. But Yon, again, Spring Yon does not go for this play, but he just chases down Chad, and if Chad had just left, oh no, he dies to Armeo on the other side. But at the end of the day, that's the kind of thing where going for the 1-for-1 is something that is brand new for Team Liquid.
Plus, you're getting even more gold in the spot lane. 2-1 and 2 for Yon. Only 10 minutes into this game. He has already set up for success in a lane situation that normally would be difficult to crack. The Senatom Kench normally playing very passively and absorbing a lot of the pressure. Yon and Ayla, they can now play fully aggressive. They can constantly harass and look to see if they can topple this turret.
Yeah, they have Armeo. He's got the Rift Herald down here if they do choose to want to play it. But even when there's no wave, Yon and Ayla are like, haha, we're 2 range champions. You're a melee. Haha, boo boo. And Joey's like, please stop. I just want to
please,
walk
I
up
just
into
want
the
to
lane."
farm. I just want the lane. This is unfair. And now they've called the Rift Herald into the bot lane. Should fully crack the turret, giving more gold over to Yon, but they want fights.
So
they
fast.
don't want the gold for the turret. They want to kill these members of Immortals. They're chasing him down. Lots of shields on the other side. Using the ult, nearly takes down Armeo, but it's a double kill in the bot lane wall. Wait a minute. Vital, 1v1 against Bradley. Vital looking for that. Vital flashed in for it. Does not get the kill. Instead, it's Harry so suddenly showing up in the bot lane. We just got action across the map.
They get so much. They get the bot lane turret. They get another bot lane turret. Nobody on Team Liquid dies despite limping away with hardly any HP. Look, we're going to have to make a montage of how many times these guys survive with sub 100 HP. Bradley, though, needs to be a little bit careful with no flash. Vital can still try and make this play happen.
Doesn't have the grand challenge, though. Could be a little risky, especially now that Bradley's been healing up a lot. But instead, we see both of them kind of playing a little bit more passively. I thought for a second maybe Vital would have pulled the trigger since Bradley was stepping out, but the resets were there for Team Liquid. I think he wasn't really too confident in stepping up aggressively with Yon and Ayla possibly being nearby.
Yeah, and Yon and Ayla, because they are so strong, they are calling the shots, right? Whenever anything happens, you get to see the people who are strong deciding how the game is going to be played. But watch how Yon just stands and delivers through this entire thing, right? He just walks up and is like, oh, your shield is about to disappear. I don't know what you're planning on doing, but I'm going to be able to take you down.
And he took all their shields away, so there was no possibility Immortals can limp out of the fight. And with the lane swaps, with Yon now being in the top lane, he is just getting funneled more and more gold. Now we're seeing why Zeri was banned both times in the last series.
Yeah, even when the champion's not good, I still think of Yon as a player who's going to be picking this champion anyway. And as the top turret, it was at 4 plates when Yon and Ayla came up here originally. It's down to 1. They are getting 4 plates, or all 5 plates in the bottom lane, at least 3 more plates. Looks like all 4 up in the top side before they fall. Yon is so fed. He is so goddamn strong in this game. I don't know how Immortals are going to try and deal with this because they already were going to struggle with this champion. They don't have ways to chase it down. They don't have ways to lock it down. The only person who can realistically do anything about this is going to be Pretty.
I swear, oh my god. Oh, you beat me to the punish. Yon, I was about to say, I swear to god, if you're able to go back and buy that goddamn Phantom Dancer after all this, I'm going to rage, and that's what I'm doing, because man, it is unfair how fed he is.
He is so strong, and it's not just him that's playing well, right? Like, he's the one who's been getting all of the kills, but it's also Harry. Harry set him up in the previous fight. Ayla's been running around, and while Karma is very rarely a flashy champion, it's a champion that is crucial to Yon's ability to actually play through this game, and his Team Liquid pick up their first dragon of the game. We can expect that they will be continuing to take more of them. They're at a 9,000 gold lead at 14 minutes. Now, Alex,
Yes.
one of the things that I used to use as my benchmark for this game is over is if you ever get half the number in thousands gold lead, right? So if you're at a 10-minute game, if you have a 5,000 gold lead, the game is over. They are well above that already.
Yeah, this is looking detrimental. Not to even add in, insult right there, because with Yon just saying, yeah, I'm fed. I got a double kill. Make it. Oh, Bradley makes sure it's not a triple kill, but it doesn't matter. It's just Yon sharing the gold. He's sharing the bounty across his crew.
That's what a good pirate captain does, right?
Yarr!
Yarr!
I mean, honestly, that's just pretty much some finesse out of Yon. Saying, yeah, I got 6 kills. I don't need this one. You know what, Bradley? You look like you need a second kill. Here you go, buddy. We're all fed now. And this game, unless there's a miracle out of Immortals at this point, I just don't see them clawing their way back unless it's off the back of Vital, who's just trying to 1v1 Ayla, but now everyone else shows up to punish him for his sins. Unstoppable. It's more like godlike for the side of Yon as they continue to hunt down the remaining members of Immortals Academy. Triple kill for Yon. Do they go for the Penta with how far ahead they are in this game? They might as well. They could go for the dive, but they instead hold back, wanting victory over Pentas.
16 minutes they're taking down the inhibitor turrets. Whenever I saw that fight, they're going for Ayla, it's just kind of like, don't you forget about Yon. And he like hops over the wall and he's like, oh yeah, that guy does a little bit of damage.
Yeah, just a bit, just a wee bit.
A little bit.
He almost buys a full Infinity Edge, by the way.
Yeah, 13,000 gold lead at 16 minutes. So, Alex, I don't know about you, but
who's Alex?
I am of the magical. I am of the inclination that we can probably call this one over. Probably. In all but name.
But, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Mortals got? They got the late game, baby. Let's go. They got the scaling. Come on. Fiora, Kindred, Azir. Right? Right?
Maybe. I mean,
granted,
even if
Kindred
they get
doesn't
there,
have
it's
any
not
stacks.
obvious that they...
Yeah,
it's not obvious that they win against, like, Gangplank's area, right? They're just
Yeah.
so long range that it's kind of hard to get on top of them. So
Yeah,
let's start
you have
asking,
points.
how do Immortals prevent this from happening next game, right? I
ban
think
Zeri.
the biggest thing, it's probably a Zeri ban, making sure that Yon and Ayla are something a little bit less comfortable, but the problem is they've played so many different things. We've seen 4 Ezreal games coming out of Yon so far. He's played 2 of Aphelios games, right? We know he has plenty of champions that didn't even show up in this draft, and Team Liquid, they're willing to play so many different styles of bottom lane, and they don't always play the same kind of, we're going to play the stock standard Ezreal Karma every time, or the Kog'Maw Lulu, or the Senatom Kench. No, they will play as like, how does Ezreal Renata sound like? That sounds good to me, yeah?
I mean, granted, the same thing can be said for Immortals, who've gone for the standard, and they are getting punished for it. They're getting chased down into their base. Chad gets gobbled up by Joey, but they couldn't make the great escape. Instead, they've noodled the catfish, and they've got Immortals right where they want them. They've even got a rift here. It's 18 minutes into the game. There's a good possibility we have Dancing Shelly when they're cracking inhibitors, both in mid and possibly bot lane, all at the 18-minute mark.
Don't kill it. Immortals, I'm looking at you.
No,
Don't kill it.
It's getting the crash. They've got 2 turrets gone. It is killed off, but this game is over. This is going to be our fastest game so far of the split, Joshi, at 18.5 minutes.
Look, we're going to have to get a fact check at this point. That might be the fastest game Academy has ever seen. 18 minutes and 30 seconds when they actually take down the Nexus. That was domination. The only kill they gave over was when Jan decided to go super aggressive in a 1-for-1. This is the kind of Team Liquid that is coming to play. This is the kind of Team Liquid that we were looking at saying they might be undefeated the entire regular season.
I mean, after that kind of performance, I could see why people are saying that. That was just dominant across the board. And there's so many things, like looking at what they could possibly do on the Immortal side to make sure they're not in quite as bad a position against Team Liquid. It's like, yeah, they could ban Zeri and maybe not put Arrow onto Senna, because we also haven't seen Arrow play the Senna before, and it doesn't really fit in the mold that we've had for the spot lane before. But that's just still like just some of the problems, right? We saw how well Ayla played on that Karma with the Zeri. We also saw that Harry, once he got to level 8 and felt more confident into the Azir matchup, was a big part of setting up the rest of the team. Same with Armeo on this Volibear, Bradley on Gangplank. Across the board, they all look fantastic.
And that's all you need. If your entire team is just better than the other team, well, it's going to be a pretty fast game. I don't normally see these games outside of, scrims typically, but Team Liquid ready to bring that to the main stage.
And let's see if they can do it in the second game. We're going to toss a break. When we come back, our host, Sierra, will be here for another halftime show. Make sure you stick around.